ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਹੈਡਲਾਈਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਖਾਸ ਪੇਸ਼ਕਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਜਸਲੀਨ ਕਾਲਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ। ਸਾਡਾ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਧਾਰਿਤ ਹੈ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਮੋਕ ਅਲਾਰਮ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ। ਆંકੜਿਆਂ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਰਬਨ ਮੋਨੋਆਕਸਾਈਡ ਪੋਇਜ਼ਨਿੰਗ ਕਾਰਨ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ 50 ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਕੱਲਿਆਂ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 11 ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਦਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ ਕਾਰਬਨ ਮੋਨੋਆਕਸਾਈਡ ਪੋਇਜ਼ਨਿੰਗ। ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕਾਰਬਨ ਮੋਨੋਆਕਸਾਈਡ ਅਤੇ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਰਬਨ ਮੋਨੋਆਕਸਾਈਡ ਅਲਾਰਮ ਹੋਣਾ ਅਤੇ ਕੀ ਹਨ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਮ ਫਾਇਰ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਟਿਪਸ। ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਫਾਇਰ ਐਂਡ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਅਤੇ ਪਲਾਨਿੰਗ ਐਂਡ ਇਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਆਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲਸ ਨਾਲ। आओ शुरू करते हैं आज की एक खास पेशकश। Joining with us the Brampton Fire Chief Bill Boyes and the Acting Director with Planning and Development Services Lillian McGinn. Hello, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Chief, I'll start with you.
Sure.
As our today's segment is based on smoke safety alarm,
Yes.
so I would like to start. Tell us what are some of the common causes of fire and how quickly the fire can spread.
Sure. So some of the common causes that we see are really unattended cooking. That's the number one cause of fires, followed by improperly discarded smoky materials. Those are kind of our two biggest ones that we do see. And fire now spreads so rapidly in homes.
Absolutely. Ms. McGinn, we know that Brampton, a lot of people in Brampton makes illegal second housing unit. So do you want to tell our viewers what is the main difference and what is the big difference between illegal and legal basements?
Well, a legal basement apartment is one that has gone through a registration process. That means that it has been a homeowner has made an application for registration of a second dwelling unit. It means that all of the zoning has been reviewed and the basement apartment meets all of the zoning requirements for minimum number of parking spaces, the uses permitted, they have the appropriate setbacks from required exits from the units, that kind of thing. And also that a building permit has been issued. And the appropriate inspections have been conducted and passed. And there is an occupancy permit that has been issued so that the unit can legally be occupied. It means that all of those minimum requirements of the building code have been satisfied, and the occupant of that unit can feel that it is a safe unit to be in.
Do you have a specific number how many legal basements are there in Brampton?
Yes, actually, as of this morning, there is a total of 3,529 legal registered basement apartments or second dwelling units, because it doesn't have to be in a basement.
Why is it so important for people to make sure that their second housing unit is legal?
Well, it really has to do with safety requirements, fire safety requirements, right? A building permit is required in order to occupy a unit. It is the law, and really what that ensures is that those minimum safety requirements and minimum requirements under the building code have been met. And those safety requirements really come down to fire safety requirements. Those are the obvious ones, having to do with how do you get out of that unit. The way you have to get out. There's a primary exit that is required, but also a secondary means of egress in case of an emergency situation. In addition to that, there are requirements for compartmentalization of the unit from the other unit, meaning that fire separations have to be constructed properly with the appropriate rating and also be smoke tight, so that there is an opportunity for people to exit that building if there is an emergency, a fire emergency. And also for early warning devices to make sure that the smoke alarms, appropriate smoke alarms have been installed, and in most cases they are required to be interconnected. But also a building code is required also to ensure that other health measures have been properly put in place in the house, such as sanitary facilities, that there is not cross-contamination between the two units, that proper heating and ventilation is ensured, also that there are minimum room sizes and requirements for natural light and ceiling height and those things that really ensure the well-being of an occupant.
Absolutely. Chief, we would like to
Yes.
ask you how tough it is for first responders to deal with such cases.
Well, it's difficult too, because when we get to a home, we want to first make sure everybody's safely outside, and sometimes what would present as a normal looking house may have multiple units in it, and we're trying to ascertain, you know, are all the people out of this fire situation in this house, so that our firefighters and our fire officers can make the appropriate decisions on how best to fight that fire and then ensure that everybody has left the building. Because as I mentioned earlier, fires now spread so rapidly, so quickly. We think of the materials that are in your home, they burn so much faster than they did, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it's there's not a lot of time, and that's why we continuously promote, you know, working smoke alarms. So every home must have working smoke alarms on every story and outside of a sleeping area. So we really want to instill that message and hopefully get that across today as we're talking, that it's so vitally important. It literally saves your life in the event of a fire.
Absolutely. And what is Brampton Emergency Services Department doing to prevent such incidents?
So one of our big things we're doing is a total emphasis on public education and fire prevention across our whole department. That includes our firefighters, our public educators, and our prevention officers. And we've really, the last few years, employed this program called the Hot Zone program. And we're using big data to help inform how we prevent fires and educate people, because we know that one message doesn't necessarily work all the time, and we want to target that messaging to all our community and all our residents, and that includes getting out to schools, to the high rises, to different retailers where people shop, to help continuously you know, send home this message that working smoke alarms do save lives, and we want to ultimately reduce fires over the next 5 years, which we're measuring to as low as possible. And we've got a big job to do, and we're starting to see some declines already after year one, but there's certain areas where actually we're seeing a bit of an increase. So we still have a lot of work to do, and it's something that we take very seriously, and it's a commitment of our whole department across all our staff, from myself right down to our frontline firefighters. But it's so vitally important. I know everybody has lots of important things they're doing in their life and costs and stressors, but if you can take some time to make sure that you have working smoke alarms and working carbon monoxide alarms in your home, it just increases the level of safety and will prevent serious fires and fatal fires like the one we saw last weekend.
Absolutely. Talking about the carbon monoxide alarms, a lot of people have questions about where to place them. Is there a specific place where they should fix their alarms?
If you do have a fuel-fired appliance in your home, you are required to have a carbon monoxide alarm. And that could be a furnace, a water heater, a gas dryer or gas stove. So you are required to have a carbon monoxide alarm in your home. And we recommend that it is outside of a sleeping area, because ultimately you need to be able to hear that alarm if it does go off, so that you can properly evacuate the home when required and as quickly as required.
Right.
Fire happens when we least expect it. So do you want to share any escape plan with our viewers when there is a fire in the house, how they can protect themselves?
Yeah, so one of the key things, like anything, is to have a plan. So with your family and anybody that lives in the home, is that you get together and you discuss, if there is an emergency, a fire that happens, what you're going to do, how you're going to get out of the home, and actually practice it. Practice if you were sleeping and what everybody would do and how they would evacuate the home and where they would meet. And we recommend, if possible, on your front yard, you have a tree, a power box of some sort in your front yard. Everybody knows where to go, and they go there as quickly as possible. They don't take time to gather belongings or pets. They evacuate right away, and then they meet in the front. And then that way, when our fire trucks get there, our firefighters know, okay, everybody's out of the home. We still have a big job to do to put the fire out, but at least we know that the people are safe immediately, and that really helps us as we try to extinguish or put out that fire.
Ms. Megan, you want to share some tips with the viewers about home fire safety tips? You work with the planning department.
With the building division, yes. Well, obviously, making sure that after the inspector goes and the unit is legally registered and able to be used, if there are requirements for that secondary exit, such as a window, for instance, it must remain accessible. It must remain, some of the escape windows do require steps to be able to easily access that window and also to operate it easily to get out in a fire and emergency situation. So it's very important that those elements remain in place. People have a tendency to remove them because maybe it's inconvenient or they want to put a piece of furniture on that wall. It's very important to keep all of those paths of egress and exit in place.
Absolutely. We request our viewers to put the carbon monoxide alarm for their safety, for the safety of their neighbors. Do you want to give any message to them?
I think the big thing is when you install those working smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms is that you do have to check them. So each month, make sure you check them. You can push the button to ensure they're working. You need to vacuum them every once in a while because dust gets on them and that can affect the sensors. And you have to check the batteries. We recommend you change the batteries every year, but it's a good idea when the time changes every March and November when it goes forward or it falls back to again check those batteries to make sure that they are working. And in fact, you can even purchase smoke alarms now with a sealed battery that lasts for 10 years. Smoke alarms have a maximum of 10-year duration lifespan that they last for, so you can buy them with the 10-year battery included. So something to think about for our viewers here that may help make their life a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that information with us, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back after the break. We have in conversation with us the Brampton Fire Division Chief, Andrew Warnholt, and the Enforcement Manager, John F. Barr. Hello and welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Division Chief, I will start with you. Tell us what are some of the common household items that produces carbon monoxide?
Sure. So in a typical home, you may have a heating appliance, so the furnace, which could be fueled by gas. And that could, if it's not running properly, produce carbon monoxide. So that's one of the appliances. You have a gas fireplace that are common in a lot of homes. And a lot of people don't know that if you have an attached garage with a car in it, that could also be a source of carbon monoxide. If the car is running and there's not proper ventilation in the garage, it can get into the house also. So,
what is the law with regards to the smoke and carbon monoxide alarms?
So the law, depending on when the house was built, but at minimum, the law is you must, under the fire code, you must have a working smoke alarm on every level of your home, near each sleeping area. So for example, if you had a 2-story house, you would need, and it has a hallway to the rooms, you'd need the smoke alarm installed in the hallway, one on the main floor. And if you had, for example, bedrooms in the basement, you would also need a smoke alarm near those bedrooms at minimum. And carbon monoxide alarm, if you have a fuel burning appliance such as a furnace, a gas stove, a gas fireplace, you're required to have a carbon monoxide alarm near each sleeping area. And even if you didn't have any of those appliances, let's just say the house was electric heat, but you had a storage garage where you parked a vehicle, you would also require to have a carbon monoxide alarm installed near each bedroom. We recommend that for smoke alarms that you install them on every level and in your bedrooms also. And we also recommend that you have a carbon monoxide alarm on every level of your home.
Absolutely. Mr. John, you work with the enforcement team. How the second housing units are enforced?
Primarily on a complaint basis, although we do proactive enforcement as well. When an officer receives a complaint, they'll attend a property. They'll make contact with the occupant of particular dwelling units, seek permission to enter inside the building, conduct the inspection, looking for self-contained units within the building itself. They will document everything and ultimately encourage an application to register as part of that process.
Have you received some complaints about it?
In 2018, we had about 2,000 complaints. That would include second unit homes, multi-unit homes, lodging houses, illegal lodging houses, and we did about 120 proactive investigations based on other findings that we find on properties while the officers are there.
So what are some of the main points which people should actually take care of when they're building a second housing unit?
Well, the most important thing is to get the permits through the building division and construct it accordingly to ensure that all the fire safety mechanisms are in place, that proper fire separation is maintained. You know, we deal with enforcement, but our main goal is the safety of the public. And it's not just the public within that house. You know, fires that occur can spread to other houses. So safety is the paramount thing, and we always want to encourage people to do the right thing.
Absolutely. I think carbon monoxide is something people cannot taste it, cannot smell it. So do you want to share some of the tips and some of the most important requirements with our viewers?
If you have a fuel-fired appliance in your home, such as a gas stove, a gas fireplace, a gas furnace, should maintain that regularly, make sure it's in good working order, have it inspected once a year, and for the safety side of it, make sure you have working carbon monoxide alarms in your home and placed near each sleeping area. You're right, carbon monoxide is a poisonous, odorless gas, so it can cause flu-like symptoms, and if your carbon monoxide alarm does go off, we ask you to leave the house, get everybody out of the house, call 911, and stay out of the house until the fire department arrives.
Is there any penalty if someone doesn't have a carbon monoxide alarm in the house?
Yes, so the penalty can be up to, under the fire code, up for an individual, can be up to $50,000, a year in jail, or both. And we can also have the ability to issue a Part 1 ticket right on the spot at the time of the occurrence, and that can be up to $365 per ticket.
Mr. John, I would like to ask you that, do you want to share some of the process? If someone is making a basement, what is the process to make legal basement instead of making illegal basement?
Well, primarily the registration is the requirement, the difference between legal and illegal. Even if it met proper code, the fact is it still has to be registered. Illegal apartments in the city of Brampton are still investigated, and the owners ultimately can be prosecuted for having the illegal unit. So again, following the building procedures outlined through the permit process is what we strongly suggest.
Absolutely. And you want to give any message to our viewers?
Well, the fact that we have a lot of students, Sheridan College in Brampton. There's website, the city's portal, registered apartments are available. You can, at a quick search, find out if a property is a registered property. If you are looking for a place, speaking with a landlord, a landlord can have up to 3 boarders. Once you start filling, having 4 or more occupants renting from one landlord, we're running into a potentially illegal lodging house situation. So they need to be aware of what the laws are and go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing that information with us. Thank you. Carbon monoxide is the silent killer. You cannot taste it, you cannot see it, you cannot smell it. ਇਹ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ sleeping area ਦੇ ਬਾਹਰ carbon monoxide alarm ਹੋਣਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ. Protect yourself, protect your neighbors with a carbon monoxide alarm. ऐसी साड़ी आज दी खास मुलाकात ब्रैम्पटन फायर एंड एमरजेंसी सर्विसेज ऑफिशियल्स दे नाल ते नाल ही ਅਸੀਂ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਪਲਾਨਿੰਗ ਐਂਡ ਇਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਈ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਭੇਜੋ feedback@ptcnetwork.com ਤੇ। ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੁੜ ਤੋਂ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਅਤੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਉਦੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।